Let us embark on a critical exploration of the rise and fall of Western society, shedding light on the factors that contributed to its decline. One crucial aspect that emerges from a dispassionate analysis is the wasteful expenditure on external wars. Throughout the ages, Western nations have engaged in conflicts both justified and questionable, deploying vast amounts of resources, manpower, and innovation to sustain military endeavors. While some wars were fought in pursuit of noble ideals, such as defending freedom or promoting democracy, others were fueled by economic interests or geopolitical ambitions. Regardless of the motives behind these wars, a recurring pattern emerges: the concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a privileged few at the expense of the masses. The elite class, driven by self-interest and fueled by the spoils of war, often reaped the benefits, while ordinary citizens bore the heavy burdens of sacrifice, loss, and economic inequality. Simultaneously, the deterioration of domestic infrastructure casts a shadow on the priorities of Western societies during periods of expansion and prosperity. As funds were funneled into external conflicts, the critical foundations of the home front were neglected. Roads crumbled, bridges weakened, public services decayed, and essential social structures faced neglect and decay. This short-sightedness in addressing domestic needs while investing heavily in external endeavors created a stark contrast within Western society, an ever-widening gap between the privileged and the marginalized, perpetuating social and economic disparities. The erosion of the Western world's economic dominance is yet another facet that demands examination. Historically, the United States dollar stood as the preeminent global currency, securing economic supremacy for Western powers. However, as external wars drained resources and geopolitical shifts unfolded, the dollar's prominence began to wane. Its decline brought forth economic uncertainties, impacting not only Western economies but also reverberating throughout the interconnected global financial system. The resulting consequences manifested as increased economic disparity, diminishing social mobility, and the consolidation of wealth in the hands of the few. The ramifications of this shift continue to shape the dynamics of Western societies and influence their place in the world. Moreover, Western powers, faced with the diminishing power of the dollar and changing geopolitical landscapes, sought alternative means to sustain their economic interests. This quest for economic stability often led to the exploitation of resources and the acquisition of wealth from third-world countries. These nations, already burdened by a history of colonialism and exploitation, found themselves ensnared in a web of economic dependency and unequal partnerships. The elite of Western societies, driven by their insatiable appetite for resources and economic gain, capitalized on this vulnerability, further exacerbating the wealth divide between the West and the developing world. The consequences of these intertwined factors are apparent in the social unrest, disillusionment, and widening inequality witnessed within Western societies today. The erosion of trust in institutions, growing resentment towards the elite, and rising calls for socio-economic justice all stem from a system that prioritized external conquests and the enrichment of the few over the well-being of the many. The collapse of Western society, in this context, becomes an outcome of a systemic failure to address the root causes of decline, perpetuated by a cycle of misplaced priorities, inequality, and exploitation. Nevertheless, the story of Western society is not one of finality, but rather a narrative of untapped potential. By acknowledging the errors of the past and critically examining the foundations upon which societies are built, we can collectively strive towards a more equitable and sustainable future. It is incumbent upon us to engage in thoughtful conversations that challenge the status quo, question prevailing power structures, and advocate for systemic changes that prioritize the well-being of all members of society. This requires a re-evaluation of societal values, a commitment to investing in domestic infrastructure and social welfare, and a concerted effort to rectify historical injustices and unequal power dynamics. To address the wasteful expenditure on external wars, Western societies must reorient their priorities towards diplomacy, conflict resolution, and peaceful cooperation. This necessitates a shift away from the culture of militarism and towards investing in education, healthcare, and social programs that uplift communities and promote human welfare. By redirecting resources from military endeavors to domestic needs, Western societies can build robust infrastructure, provide equal access to quality education and healthcare, and foster an inclusive society that empowers all individuals. Moreover, restoring the crumbling foundations of domestic infrastructure is paramount to reviving Western societies. By allocating funds to repair and modernize roads, bridges, public transportation systems, and essential public services, governments can enhance the quality of life for their citizens, stimulate economic growth, and promote social cohesion. Concurrently, attention should be given to addressing societal inequalities, ensuring that marginalized communities have equal access to these revitalized infrastructure projects and benefit from the resulting economic opportunities. Recognizing the decline in the power of the dollar, Western societies must embrace economic diversification and innovation. This entails nurturing domestic industries, supporting small and medium-sized enterprises, and fostering sustainable economic practices. By reducing dependence on an unstable global financial system, Western societies can create resilient economies that prioritize long-term sustainability, equitable wealth distribution, and environmental stewardship. In addition, it is imperative for Western societies to rectify historical injustices and dismantle systems of economic exploitation. This involves acknowledging the legacy of colonialism, implementing fair trade practices, and engaging in responsible business partnerships with third-world countries. Rather than perpetuating cycles of resource extraction and wealth accumulation, Western powers should focus on empowering local economies, supporting sustainable development, and fostering genuine partnerships based on mutual respect and shared prosperity. Ultimately, the rise and collapse of Western society serve as a powerful reminder that no civilization is immune to the consequences of misguided priorities, inequality, and exploitation. However, by learning from the past and committing to transformative change, Western societies can forge a new path, one that upholds principles of justice, equality, and sustainable progress. It is through collective efforts, critical self-reflection, and a commitment to societal well-being that Western societies can rise from the ashes, reclaim their moral compass, and contribute to a more harmonious and equitable world.